Hey everybody, Mr. Simone here. The purpose of today's video is to look at mapping diagrams and decide whether the mapping diagrams are functions or not. Alright, what a mapping diagram is it shows us all possible x values, which are your inputs, and it maps them with one and only one output, which is your y value. Now, if you were stating domain and range for these examples, you would list your x values from least to greatest. You would also list your y values from least to greatest. Again, x's are your domain or your inputs, and y's are your range or outputs. Sometimes what I like to do is when I'm given a mapping diagram, I just like to list, or I like to label that these are x's and these are y's to make sure I know which direction I'm going with. If you notice with a mapping diagram, the key thing is we want to make sure that our x values are unique, which means that each input only has one output. And if that is unique, then it is a function. If it is not, then it is not a function. For example, we'll see that -1 is mapped to 8. If you were to think of this as an earlier video, that -1, 8 is in a relationship. They're together. You can represent it as a coordinate point or ordered pair. 0 is also with 8. 4 is with -6. 7 is with -2, and so on and so forth. But as we look at our mapping diagram, you're going to notice that out of each of these individual numbers, there is only one specific line coming out. If this happens, this is considered, yes, a function. My x values are in fact unique. Even though some of them have the same y values, that's okay. The key is to remember that x must be unique. If I look at the other example here, I'll label this as well. Here's my x, here's my y. Again, if you had to say, what is the domain and range, you would list all my x's for my domain from least to greatest. And for my range, I would list all my y's from least to greatest as well. And in this case, if we look at our mapping diagram, we're going to notice that one of these doesn't make this a function. And that value is -9. Okay? It is a relationship, it's just not a functional relationship. -9 as an input can't have multiple outputs. And based on this mapping diagram, -9 has two possible outputs. So this is not a function. It doesn't pass that function rule of a one-to-one relationship. So I hope this video helps. Again, as you're working through this, there are different ways to represent relationships, whether it's lists of finite coordinate points, relationships, tables, there's also graphs, but mapping diagrams is just another way to see if something is a function or not. I hope this helps.